Let's be honest, does the UK tax system ever feel like a giant, complicated maze? Yeah, you're definitely not alone. But don't worry, because today, that's what we're here to do. We're going to map it all out and make the complex feel, well, a lot more simple.
So, let's kick things off with a question I get asked all the time. You see them both on your payslip, right? But what is the actual difference between income tax and national insurance? Stick with me because you're about to find out. I want you to think of this as your personal map. We're going to cut through all the jargon, navigate the main pathways, and hopefully make the whole thing feel a lot less intimidating.
All right, here's our route for today. We're starting with the absolute basics, direct taxes. Then we'll dive into your personal income and property. After that, we'll check out how businesses are taxed, touch on the rules for foreigners, and then wrap it all up with the big picture.
Okay, first things first. Let's start right at the entrance of this maze and figure out what a direct tax even is. So, a direct tax, what is it really? It's pretty simple, actually. It's any tax that comes straight from your pocket or your company's pocket and goes directly to the government. You can't offload it onto someone else. It's your tax to pay. This idea is basically the foundation for everything else we're going to cover. All right, let's get to the part of the map that affects most of us every single day. The taxes that come out of our own personal income. The stuff you see on your payslip or on your savings statements. Now check this out, because this is where a lot of people get tripped up. The UK has a progressive system. That means you don't pay the higher rate on all of your income. You only pay that rate on the slice of your income that falls into that band. So let's say you earn £60,000. You're not paying 40% on all of it, no way. You only pay that 40% on the bit that's over the £50,270 threshold. It makes a huge difference. And here's maybe the best part of the whole system, the personal allowance. Think of it as a head start, a tax-free buffer zone. For most of us, you can earn up to £12,570 before you have to pay a single penny of income tax.
And boom, here it is, the answer to that question we asked at the very beginning. While your income tax goes into one giant government pot to fund everything from roads to schools, national insurance is totally different. It's a specific contribution you make to build up your right to things like the state pension or unemployment benefits later on. They're two separate things doing two different jobs. Of course, life isn't always that simple, right? Depending on what you're up to, the maze can have a few other pathways. You might run into capital gains tax if you sell an asset for a profit, or maybe inheritance tax, dividend tax, or even tax on your savings interest. Next up, let's turn a corner on our map and talk about a huge landmark for so many people, property. What are the taxes you need to know about when you're buying or selling?
You know, this works a lot like income tax, believe it or not. It's progressive, it's all about those slices. So, if you buy a house for, say, £300,000, you pay 0 on the first chunk, then 2% on the next bit, and then 5% only on that final £50,000 slice. Breaking it down like this makes it way easier to figure out.
Now here's a little twist you absolutely have to know about. The name and the rules for this tax actually change depending on where you are in the UK. So it's stamp duty in England and Northern Ireland, but Scotland and Wales have their own versions with their own rates. It's a perfect example of how some taxes are devolved.
Okay, so far we've been focused on us as individuals. Let's zoom out now and turn our map over to the world of business, from the tiniest startup all the way up to the massive corporations.
25%. That's the big number, the headline figure you hear when people talk about business tax in the UK. But what is it exactly? That number is corporation tax. It's the main tax that limited companies pay on their profits. Now, while the main rate is 25%, and this is really important, there's actually a lower rate of 19% for smaller companies with profits of £50,000 or less. That's a huge help for smaller businesses just getting started.
And yeah, it definitely doesn't stop there. Businesses have a whole host of other things to think about, like paying national insurance for their employees, paying business rates on their shops or offices, and for the really big players, things like the apprenticeship levy. It's a busy landscape.
Okay, for this next section, we're heading into some international waters, so to speak. This part of the map has its own unique set of rules, how the UK tax system works for people who aren't from here or have ties abroad.
Right, listen up, because this is the absolute key. Forget your passport, forget your nationality. When it comes to UK tax, the only thing that really matters is this one thing called your resident status. Figuring that out is the first and most important step. And from there, the general rule of thumb is pretty straightforward.
If you're considered a UK tax resident, you're usually going to be taxed on your income from all over the world. But if you're a non-resident, you typically only have to pay UK tax on the money you actually make here in the UK.
Okay, deep breath. We've walked through the main paths, we've seen the major landmarks. Now it's time to step back, climb up high, and take a look at our finished map from a bird's eye view.
You know, when you boil it all down, you can really think of the whole direct tax system in just 3 simple buckets. There's tax on what you earn, there's tax on what you own, and there's tax on what your business makes. Thinking about it that way, it's a really powerful way to frame everything.
And you know, if there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's this. Once you get why a tax exists, that income tax is for public services, that national insurance is for your pension, the system starts to feel less like a bunch of random penalties and more like something with an actual purpose. And that gives you confidence.
So, we've given you the map, we've shown you the main routes, and a few of the junctions. The only question left is, which of these paths are you on right now? And which ones might you be heading down in the future? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.
If you are looking for professional guidance, give us a call today. Sit back and relax while we do all the complicated work for you.